welcome you all to our media panel. We have Julie, Director of Community Relations, Houston PBS. We have Don, the Assistant News Director, ABC 13, KPRC. We have Rick, Assistant News Director, KPRC, Local 2. We have Lisa, Director for Community and Marketing Relations, Channel 11. And we have our chair, Scott Alexander, very wonderful friend of mine. Let me say something about Scott Alexander. I mean, I need to say that. I need to share this information. He says like this. That means very largely. So it was 2003 I moved to Chicago from Turkey, and Scott Alexander was the first American I met in Chicago among those 5-6 million people. Wow. And he has taken such a long way from Chicago to come and be part of this panel. He's the director for Catholic and Muslim Studies program at the Catholic Theological Union in Chicago.
I've been telling people in Houston how very much we in Chicago love the Houston community and particularly admire everything that the Gülen Institute and the Raindrop Foundation are doing in Houston, but that we are upset with you for one reason, and that is you took Kemal Öksüz away from us. But with time, I think we'll probably get over that. I think I speak for all my fellow panelists in thanking you all for coming out this morning and participating in this Dialog of Civilizations Platform. I know it's a great honor for me to be here, particularly in light of what the Gülen Movement has been contributing to the upbuilding of civil society and the demonstration of the positive role that religion and spirituality can play in the upbuilding of civil society, not just in Turkey, of course, and other parts of the world, but right here in the United States. So it is an honor for me to be here, and I suspect that my fellow panelists feel the same way. And my name is Scott Alexander. My academic training is in the history of religions, and within that, Islamic studies. My first job was at Indiana University in Bloomington, where I was teaching on the religious studies faculty there at that great institution. I got into the study of religion originally because of the role my own faith was playing in shaping my life and my identity when I was in my late teens. I originally thought that I may have wanted to become a priest, but the young lady I was growing more and more friendly with ended up, turns out to be my wife now of 25 years, so Catholic priesthood was not really the direction that obviously God was intending me to go in. When I was an undergraduate, it was right around the time of the Iranian Revolution, and that was the first time really that Islam in the Muslim world was making the radar screen of people in U.S. American society. And I was fascinated and confused because I was taking my first course in Islamic studies in college and learning about Islam and the history of Islamic society and civilizations. And then I was listening to the news, and there was a huge disconnect between what I was learning in the classroom, what I was reading in the books I was reading, and learning from the esteemed and erudite professors I was studying with, and the media coverage of the Iranian Revolution. And that's one of the issues really that sort of inspired me to continue and do more in Islamic studies. So in a sense, the media has a lot to do, particularly the role the media has played and continues to play in trying to cultivate an understanding of global issues, and particularly issues between the West and the Muslim world, has a lot to do with sort of my own career track, if you will. At Indiana University, I had a wonderful experience, but the ministerial side of me was sort of dying on the vine because I was strictly an academic. And that's the work that I was expected to do in that particular faculty. And then one day I opened the Chronicle of Higher Education, and lo and behold, there was an advertisement that Catholic Theological Union, which is the largest Roman Catholic graduate school in theology, and as I alluded to before, I'm Roman Catholic myself, was looking to inaugurate a new program in Catholic Muslim studies. And when I read the job description, it sounded an awful lot like who I was. Actually, I saw on the printed page for the first time in my life the words Catholic and Muslim close together, separated only by a little hyphen. And in some ways, my life at that point felt like that hyphenated kind of existence, a kind of a person who by personal conviction and background was Roman Catholic, but who was absolutely fascinated and in the middle of an intellectual and spiritual love affair of sorts with Islam and with Muslim peoples. So for the last 8 years, I've had the privilege of sort of putting in place this program in Catholic Muslim studies at CTU. And in my job as a theological educator who does a lot of teaching about Islam and Muslims, most of the time with Muslim partners, to Christian audiences in a post-September 11th United States, one of the greatest challenges I face is the challenge of Islamophobia. Now, some of you may be wondering, what is Islamophobia? Most simply put, it's the Muslim analog to anti-Semitism. It goes beyond, like anti-Semitism, it goes beyond the level of personal bigotry and hatred. You know, you might have a neighbor who might be particularly unenlightened or very narrow-minded and very racist in his or her outlook on the world, and not like you. But beyond that, you don't have to face any of this hatred or bigotry in your life. That doesn't rise to the level of anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. What makes Islamophobia what it is, what makes anti-Semitism what it is they're both forms of racism. And racism differs from bigotry and personal hatred in that it is systemic on the societal level. In other words, those who are the victims of racism are the victims of hatred and bigotry, not only at the personal level, but also at the institutional level. In whatever fora of public life they may find themselves in society, they confront in one way or another, in one form or another, in one level of intensity or another, hatred and bigotry, exclusion and marginalization. We have a problem, as we have had with anti-Semitism and continue to have with anti-Semitism here in the United States and in Europe and other parts of the world. Certainly in the United States and in Europe, we have a problem with this Islamophobia. In my attempts as an educator to combat Islamophobia, the media, and that's a very broad term, and my colleagues here who are in the media can probably speak to the breadth of that term, just in terms of telling you and sharing with you what it is they do in their careers and the contributions they try to make to quality media in their respective professions. So in some ways I use the term lightly because it refers to so many different kinds of institutions and corporations and etc. Print media, television, radio, different genres. But I think in general, it's fair to say that the media can be either my greatest ally or my greatest foe in the attempt to combat Islamophobia. Unfortunately, with due and humble deference to my fellow panelists, I would say that the breakdown is basically 20-80. 20% of the time, I find the media to be my greatest ally, and about 80% of the time, I find the media to be my greatest foe. It's not necessarily the case, however, that the media is intentionally trying to be my greatest foe 80% of the time, and I'll say a little bit something about that in a few minutes. But I wanted to just move now to examples of the media as ally, that 20% of that time. These would be, when I hear radio spots or I see television spots or I read newspaper articles that seek to go beyond and get behind and counterbalance the sensational headlines